right, here he is, the one and only John Bush of Armored Saint, of course, formerly Anthrax, and now Category 7. John, hello. I guess good morning, right? It's
Good morning.
still morning in LA.
It is morning. It's still 11:30, so I guess that would be considered morning. I've been up for a few hours, but hey.
Well, thanks for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it. Before we get into the new band Category 7 and, of course, some Armored Saint stuff, I got to ask, how is your vocal health? I know you were having some issues a month or so ago, and a couple of Armored Saint shows had to get canceled. So how are you doing on that front?
I'm good. I'm good. I was able to get through the rest of the tour that we did and have some awesome shows, including LA, which was the last one, which was awesome. So it was a drag, to I don't know. I probably got a little something, a little bug, and it kind of messed with me. And then I missed a couple shows, and we had to cancel a couple, which was a drag. And Jason Bittner came out, and he's my tag team partner for Armored Saints. Like, you're in. And I'm very grateful that he was able to help us because, it sucks canceling shows and especially financially for a band like Saint. It's just it's a killer, but it's the way it is. And I'm better now. I'm almost ready to start singing again because we have a European tour at the end of next month, and I'm almost there. And it's I'm not the only singer that's ever had a trouble on the road, and I won't be the last. So it's just kind of goes with the job sometimes, and it's a drag. It sucks. It's horrible, actually. It's enough to make me not want to do it anymore, really, at that moment. But then I get over it, and I just kind of think I'm an athlete, and I'm injured, and I'll just rehab and be back. And that's the philosophy I try to have. My wife has to deal with a lot of my neuroses, which I'm sure is very trying for her. Yeah, it's a drag. I mean, it's like, if you're a runner or a basketball player and pull a muscle in your leg, you can't run, and people are injured all the time. I'm an NBA fan. I'm watching the, finals. I love the Celtics, and Porzingis was injured and he couldn't play. And he's like a huge part of that team and missed like 10 games. And it's just the way it is. It's the same kind of philosophy, and singers can relate better than most people about it because everyone who is anybody who's a singer has had a vocal problem at some point or will. It's just a fact, and it's a bummer, but you bounce back.
Well, speaking of Jason McMaster, I mean, that guy's so great. Dangerous Toys is such an awesome band. He's such a great vocalist, and I think that they even opened a few shows for you guys recently in Texas.
They
correct?
did. Yeah, it was great. He came out, and then we ended up playing with them, and that was really cool. And they're a great band, and they just have this cool, Texas vibe to them. And Jason's a great singer, and sounded great with them. Did great with, of course, with Armored Saint with me as well. But that's his baby, and it was cool to play with them. And then we played, and we had some great shows. Austin and Dallas, they were both awesome gigs.
Well, moving on to Category 7, it's your brand new band, or super group, really, that features yourself on vocals alongside Phil Demmel from Kerry King's new band, previously Violence and Machine Head, on guitar along with Mike Orlando from Adrenaline Mob, bassist Jack Gibson of Exodus, and Overkill and Shadows Fall drummer Jason Bittner. I got to be honest, anytime that a new super group is announced and comes out, I always get a little hesitant because while there are some great ones out there, a lot of times it often can fall really flat and be a bit of a disappointment, but not this, especially the two singles that are currently out, especially the opening track, In Stitches. I mean, my God, what a fucking song.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't like the term supergroup personally. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It just sounds a little bit much, quite frankly. You're not the only one that said it, and a lot of people have said that in connection with this. But I get it, but I don't necessarily love it. But in any case, it's just it is a band of really talented veteran players for sure who have a pretty awesome camaraderie, at least on record. It's funny, we haven't even done one gig yet, so I don't know if that'll be like that'll probably be a little challenge and be interesting. But the fact is that everybody's really, really talented that's involved in this, and the record is killer. So from that standpoint, it's been real fun. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's just, as the public, hopefully they dig it.
You mentioned not even playing a gig yet. I would assume then that there are plans to take this out on the road for some live shows.
I mean, I'm sure there is a plan for that. I think the goal is to do something that's going to be, right. And I don't think anybody's, especially because everybody else has a lot of other things going on. I don't think anybody wants to just go out and slam it, 20 shows in clubs and in a van kind of thing as maybe as what's the term I would use? Like, I don't want to sound like we're above that, but I just don't think we'll do that. But if we can find the right things to do and have it be, strategically planned, I think that's the better philosophy of it. But we are kind of a new group, so we can't just expect that, Metallica is going to take us on the road. But, the reality is it has to be right and has to feel right for everybody to want to do it for various reasons. So, but yeah, I think it'll be fun to play live, and the songs are killer, so they'll probably sound real good.
Well, maybe this could just spitballing here. Maybe this could be the project where you go out and you do songs from this record, but you also maybe do some of the Anthrax songs from your time in the band.
A couple of people mentioned that, including Phil and Demmel. That means, I don't know yet. I mean, I have a couple ideas regarding that too. I just don't have the time to want to do some of these things. To be honest, I mean, Armored Saint's going back out to Europe at the end of next month, so for about 4 weeks. So it's I have some lofty ambitions. It's just a matter of trying to make it all work together. But you have a good idea there. You never know.
The way I understand of how this whole thing came together with you is that you had a bit of an existing relationship with Phil Demmel from doing Metal Allegiance together, and he had been putting this project together with Mike Orlando, and you were at the top of the list in terms of ideal vocalists. Is that about how simple it really was for this to come together?
Yeah, so pretty accurate. I mean, Phil and I know each other from that. We know that's how we kind of got to know one another. I never had even ever met Mike, which is kind of funny. And he's one of the catalysts to this project. So it was cool to kind of like develop this relationship, which was only through music because I just didn't even know him, which is really cool because it says a lot about just the music, being the main factor behind it, and not just like they were buds and they talked it out, and even Bittner talked to them and they had this idea. But it was funny that it was musically, it was one of the main driving forces behind it. But yeah, it's that's how it kind of all developed. And I think Phil liked the idea of me being one of the key components in this, and Phil really just said, "Would you be interested in this?" And I said, "I would, but let me hear it." Really comes down to that and the music, and that'll be the driving factor. And once I heard it, I was like, "Whoa, this sounds pretty awesome." It was very heavy. So the next step for me was to try to write to it and see what I could bring to the table, because I could say it sounds great and it could be awesome, but it really comes down to when it comes to writing and writing songs for it, it's like, what could I bring to it? And then, I think I brought a lot to it, actually. Took it to another level, and hence the songs were great. And next thing we know, we had like 9 of them written. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was reading something with Demmel where he said that you guys were a little bit in the friend zone early on when getting this project together. What exactly did that mean? Was there a little hesitation, like from you to commit? Was that just because you wanted to see how it all gelled together and see if how everybody would work well together, or were you hesitant to commit for other reasons like Armored Saint and everything else you got going on as well?
Well, for a long time, I didn't have a desire to do anything. Armored Saint was fulfilling everything for me musically, and a few people came along and with some different ideas. I did the one song for the Metal Allegiance record, Bound by Silence, but really didn't do much. And I was just kind of like, I had other things going on in my life, and again, it was gratifying enough for me to do Saint, and it wasn't until recently where just so happened. It wasn't like I just had a change of heart or some kind of light bulb went off. It was just like he came to me for this and said, "Would you be interested?" And at the same time, I was kind of started this kind of like little blues country thing with a buddy of mine who ended up recording all the vocals for me on Category 7, most of them until I redid some stuff with Mike in his studio. But um, uh, I was doing this blues country thing with him, and then I was writing and recording some songs with Category 7, and then it just kind of started gaining steam. And next thing I know, I was part of writing about 20 different songs, which was great as a writer and musician, and was able to, to kind of like hone my craft even more. So I embraced it, and it was just circumstantial. It wasn't like I decided, okay, now's the day I'm going to do different things. It just kind of happened as it did. And it's cool. I want it to be something that I feel really confident about, and I want to do, and I love it and feel passionate about it. And otherwise, it's the point. So it just so happened to be that way.
You mentioned, never having met Mike Orlando prior to this, and I had Corey Glover from Living Color on the show a few months ago, and he's also got a new project, Sonic Universe, with Mike Orlando as well. And I said this then too, but it really is great to see Mike Orlando back at it after the tragic accident that effectively ended his old band, Adrenaline Mob, and unfortunately killed a couple people and horrible injuries. And so it's great to see him, bounce back now and really get back in the swing after all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to know him through this, and for one, he's just like one of the nicest guys out there. He's just like beyond a sweet man. And the other thing is, it's like he's really talented as not only a guitar player, but as an engineer and as as a writer. He's a really talented guy. So he deserves to be out there making music and doing different things. And the thing with Corey and him is killer. And Corey's an awesome singer, and I dig that. So yeah, kudos to Mike. He deserves it, and obviously went through a lot, and could have ended his career, needless to say. So I'm glad he's bounced back for his own sake.
Well, yeah, with Category 7, those first two singles are great. Super stoked to hear the whole album when it comes out on July 26th. I want to quickly get to some Armored Saint stuff. I know we don't have a whole lot of time here, but one of the things I wanted to ask was, you guys were on the Monsters of Rock cruise at the beginning of this year, and this was sort of an interesting year, I guess, in terms of the lineup for that cruise, which is predominantly focused on the 80s quote unquote hair bands or whatever you want to call them, with Enough's Enough and Quiet Riot and Slaughter and all that still on this year, but also a little bit more a few more metal bands with you guys and KK's Priest, Accept, and all that. But is it weird to sort of be in that sort of environment with all those bands for such a long time on a boat, like 5 days or whatever, because maybe you feel like you are the odd ones out in a way? Because you said before that during the 80s, Armored Saint never really fit in with the hair bands, never really fit in with the thrash bands, and it sort of gave you guys an inferiority complex at the time. Is it still that way today, or not anymore in 2024?
Well, we've got over our inferiority complexes. Good thing. It's great. We have a history with all those people in some capacity or another. I did a tour with Judas Priest when I was in Anthrax, when the Ripper was in it, and KK was there, and we did some shows with Accept in Europe and festivals. We played with, and we were on the same label as Slaughter back in the day. I probably know all of those people in some small capacity or another in some way. As a matter of fact, the singer of the band Tough came up to me and was telling me the story how he saw Armored Saint in the small club in Appleton, Wisconsin in 1985 on the Delirious No, or 86 on the Delirious Nomad tour at a bowling alley. And I remember that gig, and it's like, wow. So we're talking about it, and it's like all those people have something to contribute, and people, when they go to the Monsters of Rock cruise, which is sold out, everybody loves those bands in some way or another, whether it's Accept or Tough or you name it. So, and that's great, it's all part of our life. We started in the 80s. I don't feel above or or disconnected from any of those people at this point. Maybe then we, did, but now it's like it's all one kind of happy love fest. The only thing about the Monsters of Rock cruise that kind of sucked is we were literally one of the first bands that played, and then we were one of the last bands that played on the pool stage. We were supposed to be the final band on the pool stage, following Winger, and a storm came in and canceled our show. So it was fun, and we had like 4 days of like a lot of drinking and hanging out, and went to the beach in Nassau and Cozumel, but it's like we never played again, which really kind of sucked. And so I'm a little disappointed about that, because we only played the one time, and every band plays twice. So that was a drag. I was pretty annoyed, and so I had to settle for a bad version of a karaoke song that me and Gonzo did. But yeah, it was weird. I was like going, what? Like, why can't, let's move it into, because there was like the small club that we saw, the Guns N' Roses tribute band, the old Guns N' Roses band. I forget their name now. I'm sorry. Paradise Kitty, maybe?
Oh, that's right.
Paradise
Yeah, I have heard of it. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's Paradise
And
Kitty.
they played the small club, and it was cool. And I was like, let's go into the club. And if we would have had the foresight to go, okay, this storm may come, and somebody else should have had the foresight. If this happens, could we do this? And because I was like, well, let's go in there and play. And if we would have went in there and played, it would have been insane. But they were already breaking down the gear, and those boats are crazy. Like the next day, automatically there's another like whole new boat coming in, like a whole new cruise, and artists and stuff going in that are not metal. It could be who knows what it could be. So we were like, I was pretty disappointed about that. That was annoying, but what are you gonna do? It's life.
Well, there's always, they do those cruises every year, so there's always another opportunity for Armored Saint to be on another cruise, right?
I guess so. I mean, I don't like, my wife. It's funny. I was like, we got an offer to do another cruise. She's like, what? Are you kidding? Like, I thought you said you were done with that like 3 cruises ago. And I was like, apparently not. So that's kind of funny.
Does she come with you when you guys do these cruises?
She did. She came with me on this one, and then she's been on, I think, all of them, every one that we've done. And yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's a good time, and the fans are really cool. They're actually very cordial, and they want to talk to you, but they also give you your space. And I think the novelty wears off after like maybe the first or second day, and they're like, "Ah, you again? Cool. Like, pass me a bagel, like, or excuse me, I need to get some roast beef here, so pardon me." And it's kind of cool in that capacity, because you're just, there's no way to be like a pompous rock star. Not that Armored Saint would ever be like that. We're like the nicest guys, but you just everybody's pretty humble on there, and I think that's really one of the best aspects of it.
Well, on the new music front, obviously you guys recently re-signed with Metal Blade, and if I recall, tomorrow there's a brand new song coming out. It's a cover, right, of One Chain Don't Make No Prison, which I think is from 1970 or something, right?
Yeah, it's Four Tops. Well, a couple people did it besides them. Santana did a version as well, but the Four Tops one is the most successful and the coolest one in our opinion, of course. But yeah, we did a version. It's the video is really cool. It's kind of all of us wearing these dapper suits. The version of the song is great. It's kind of like right up our wheelhouse. We love that old school soul R&B. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And the singer for the Four Tops, Levi Stubbs, a great singer, very inspiring to me as a singer, and it kind of feels like natural for me to do it, and the band as well. So it's fun. It's we'll see how people react to it. Who knows if dire metal fans will probably be scratching their head a little bit, but it's to us it's kind of like a very natural step to do something like this, because we've always been into all those kind of bands, and a lot of that like I said, old school soul, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, the OJs, Stevie Wonder. I mean, as much as we listened to hard rock bands when we were growing up, like Kiss and Thin Lizzy and UFO and Iron Maiden and Priest, we were all Sabbath, Zeppelin. We were also listening to all those bands, and it had a lot of influence on our style, and especially me as a singer. So I don't think this is an unusual step at all, and hopefully people dig it. It's fun.
How is progress on the new album coming? I know a couple of months ago, I think you said there were already 5 or 6 songs demoed, but then I think I read somewhere else it won't be this year, right? The new album will be in 2025, most likely.
Yeah, it won't be this year, but it's funny because I just listened to the songs the other day and I just texted Joey and I said, these songs are great. And I kind of hadn't listened to them for a while. So it inspired me to get back to writing, and I've been doing that. And, we don't work fast, but we really kind of need to step it up a little bit, mainly because, time isn't necessarily on our side based on our age. That's the reality I see. But I also want it to be of the highest quality. I certainly don't want to like rush something and then go, we shouldn't have done that. So I think 25 is realistic. We do need to kind of push ourselves. Like when I'm on tour and did the Queensryche tour, like it's weird with music. Like I don't even want to hear any music. Like when I'm on tour, I really don't. Like on days off, I would work out and usually I'd wear I have an iPod that I still love and listen to music, and I couldn't even do it. Like I don't, like I need to just take a break from music. And it's funny because bands used to ride on the road and we would try, and I just like I can't. And it's which is okay if that's because if I force it, then it's like then you're forcing it, and that's the last thing you want to do when you're making music. So it should come natural. So I don't know. I just like my ears need a break, I guess, and I don't really want to write music or listen to music, so I'll just rather read or well, I'm a big NBA and NHL fan, and their playoffs were on. So every night after the gig, I would just come back and put on the games and pretty much take over the television in the bus. But yeah, we'll get to it. I feel really good. Like I said, I texted Joey and it was cool to be away from the songs for a while and then hear them back and go, there's some really great stuff here. So I really feel like we have a lot to build on, and we'll shoot for 25.
Well, a couple more things before we go. You mentioned time not exactly being on your side. Do you ever see Armored Saint doing a farewell tour or marketing one as such, or do you think it'll just kind of be over when it's over? No need to be like, this is the end in case you want to come back. And to that point, how much longer do you see Armored Saint being an active band?
Well, when my voice was killer, like it was in the beginning of the tour, I mean, I feel like the sky's the limit. Can I sing Rain of Fire when I'm 70? I laugh at that and say, well, logically says no, but or maybe not as good as I want to, so why do it? As far as like, I'm not a big fan of saying this is the final tour, and mainly because we've seen so many people go renege on that. So I personally don't like that at all. I mean, why say it's over? Why make that decision? You may change your mind, which we've seen a lot of people do. So, especially if it seems like you're doing that. I'm not saying these bands are, I'm not mentioning names, but if you're doing it because you're trying to tell the fans that we're not coming back, and then you do, it's just not honest, So to me, what's the point? I just don't see it. If you say you want to take a break, and that's all well and fine to me. I don't know.
Well, one last thing I want to ask you before we wrap this up. Obviously, you've been asked about this a million times, but I wanted to ask a specific question with Metallica. Of course, you were famously they offered you to join the band back in the day. You've said before there's no regrets about not taking them up on the offer. It's a huge honor for you to have been asked. At that time, Armored Saint was getting pretty hot and all that kind of stuff. And certainly nobody could have ever predicted that Metallica would go on to become this behemoth of a band and music in general, not just metal that they are today. But do you ever just sit back and wonder, maybe how things would have turned out had you ended up saying yes and taking the gig? Do you think it would have worked out in the long haul, or do you really feel like you were just not the right guy for that job?
I don't really think it was the right fit for me, in retrospect. I think that when I look back, I again, we did the one version where I sang the Four Horsemen, which is at the 30th anniversary show that they did at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and it was awesome. Don't get me wrong, it was killer. It was, one of the highlights of my life, and I think it sounded awesome, actually. But I just, like, James is such an iconic singer, performer. I can't imagine him not being the front man of that band, or anyone being in it besides me, or other than me. But it makes no, I don't see it, I don't see that, because that would be like such a reduction in what somebody meant to, the music business. So that's why it's easy to not, to, for all the various reasons, and just, when I say it just wasn't my fate and wasn't meant to be and blah, blah, blah. The truth is, I just can't imagine James not having his voice and having his frontman contributions not being there. That would be very strange to me, especially for a band that went on to be, like you said, the behemoth that they are. So, yeah, I mean, when not joining Anthrax would have been a bigger mistake in my career, because that was years later and a lot of work had already been accomplished and done. And so to not go and join them, to me, would be something that would be more of a bigger mistake to make. Nobody else was meant to be the frontman of Metallica. Not taking anything away from Joey Belladonna, because he contributes a lot to Anthrax's sound and style, and has through the years and still does. But that was a period of time when there was a change, and that was that fit for me felt like it was appropriate. So again, always flattered. I mean, love Metallica. Love all the changes and chances that they took through the years, and the willingness to stick their neck out in various ways. Even if maybe it meant the fans were going to be like, I don't know about this. Man, they made a record with Lou Reed. They did all kinds of things that sometimes you wonder, what is this? But, the orchestra, which is really cool, of course, and amazing. But, still, like, to somebody who's just, I only want to hear Master of Puppets and that's it. It might be like, I do not understand this, they just do. They take chances. And the same goes for Anthrax. Whether I was in Anthrax or out of Anthrax, they always were willing to do things, that maybe was pushing the fan base's senses a little bit, and maybe not even was a sure shot. Come on, I'm the man. Like, there was no guarantee that was going to be well received when it came out, and it was just a chance to take. So that's the beauty of both those bands. And I was in Anthrax, and when I was in Anthrax, I felt like we took chances, and even when I was not, I felt like they took chances. And the same goes for Metallica. So, like, you don't want to just repeat yourselves constantly, doing the same thing. You have to take chances. You have to push yourself as a musician and as a writer and as an artist, and not everything is going to be hitting the bullseye. That's why the best bands like U2 and Radioheads, and obviously not metal bands, but do that too. And that's why I love those bands. And that to me is a true artist, not somebody who's like, let's give them what they want every time. It's like, no, that's kind of safe almost. It's like, let's give them something that they don't know they want, but then we'll want it. And that's, to me, a little more adventurous.
Well, and bands that are willing to take chances, like Metallica, always seem to be the ones that can, have real actual longevity,
Well, and that's for sure. I think that is the reason that you have longevity, is because you're willing to take the chances. And look, there will probably be dips in your career, but there will be dips in anybody's career. There's no way you're going to sustain at a certain level of success, especially that level, for 40 on years. I mean, they pretty much have. The record sales probably haven't been exactly what they were. I mean, well, you're never going to match the Black Album, because it was one of the best-selling records ever. But that's okay if you're going to have the Stones. I mean, there's going to be a little dip. There hasn't been a lot, for live performances for these groups, but maybe musically there will be, because you just, the longer you do it, the more you're going to be tinkering around and doing different stuff. And hey, I it's funny, like, I say this, and maybe it's a little I don't know if I should say it sometimes, but like I love metal. Don't get me wrong, I do. It's made my life. But sometimes metal is counterculture as it is can be slightly conservative because people do the same thing and they say this is what the fans want. I'm going to give it to them, and they kind of won't steer outside the box a little bit. And I think that sometimes it becomes a little stale. And so like I think push the boundaries, push them, push the fan base. I'm not saying, come out with like a folk album for, Corn or whatever, like with the realities of it, but like do something to always kind of challenge the fan base. We do that with Saint. Of course, we're a smaller band, but we do. And we kind of feel like the sky's the limit. Like we kind of feel like we can do anything. And then we have to check ourselves a little bit and say, okay, maybe that's a little too out of the box, but we're actually always at least willing to have the idea of trying it. Hence a old 70s song with us wearing suits. Like there will probably be fans going, I don't like it, but oh well, what are you gonna do? You have to like kind of satisfy your own urges as an artist a little bit. And then as long as I think there's sincerity behind it, I think that's the key. I think if people feel like, this feels forced, this feels kind of like they were just trying and they weren't really behind it, then I think then I feel, look, I'm an artist, a fan of music as well. And so I feel the same way. Believe me, I'm harsh on bands I love and don't love. I won't share that with you, but like, and the public, but I am, and I feel like I like it, so I get it. But as long as in the end there's sincerity behind it, I think that's really the most important thing.
It really is all about that authenticity. But John, I got to say, it really has been an honor to have you on. Sound of White Noise was one of the first metal albums I ever heard, period, when I was a kid. And was really my real introduction to Anthrax was with you. Obviously, I knew who Scott Ian was from TV and stuff, but I'd never heard him. So it really has been so great to have you on. Thank you so much for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, bro. I appreciate all the good questions, and it's fun to have those. Be ready with some good answers. But thank you for all the interesting talk here. I like it.
Hey, my pleasure. You can check out Category 7's debut album when it comes out on July 26th and catch Armored Saint on the road if you're in the UK or Europe. Dates at armoredsaint.com. John, thanks again, man. Take care, and would love to do it again sometime.
I appreciate it, Logan. Thanks so much, man. We'll see you when we do.